Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Paul.
And this is the Minute Podcast.
If you give a mouse a cookie, I'm pretty sure he'd write a book. Give Jenny Kent $600, she'll direct the Babadook. Star Dwayne Johnson in Pretty Woman, and you know it wouldn't last. But give us just a minute, and we'll give you a podcast. The Minute Podcast. Great, thanks for joining us. As you know, the Minute Podcast is where John and I get together every week to look at a random minute of media of some kind. Maybe it's a TV show minute that someone sent us or a minute of a movie, and we just try to understand what's happening and come to our own conclusions about what we're seeing. John, what are we looking at today?
So today we are looking at a listener-submitted video, a minute of Hardee versus Hardee, the Final Deletion, full video as seen on Impact Wrestling. So this video is submitted by Davida, and he's a buddy over at the Duckfeed Network.
All right, well, big thanks out to Davida. Just a reminder that this episode is brought to you by Whack Meldon, my neighbor Meldon, who sells used underwear on Craigslist. I don't care if it makes it softer, Meldon. I'm not going to buy your used underwear. That's pretty whack. Visit craigslist.com/whackmeldon for more information.
So what I want to get into first is, what is our current level of understanding about Hardee versus Hardee, the Final Deletion? What is it? How familiar are we with watching this? I personally have never seen any Impact Wrestling. I assume that's what this is. And I know nothing about, I assume, the Hardee brothers.
Could be that they're brothers. I mean, we'll get into that, but I know exactly as little as you do, John. For all we know, this is not actually about wrestling, and we'll come to our own conclusions over the course of this minute.
Yes, exactly. We'll figure this out.
All right.
So
well, just to set the scene a little bit for what we're going to look at then today, it opens with our protagonist, who I'm going to refer to as Brother Nero Gage's Hardee, sitting in his lakefront property, slow jamming on his acoustic guitar when he's disturbed by a drone outside of his window. And as we usually start on this podcast, John, I thought we might start with a reading of the script.
Oh, of course, after you. I believe I'm going to be playing Space Hardee, the, I assume, antagonist. We'll get into that. And Paul, you're cast as Brother Nero Gage's Hardee. Now, we'll get into, maybe the names a little bit later. They're wonderful. I love this script, Paul.
And thank you. And it does start with me, doesn't it? Yes.
Yes, okay. It does.
Begin scene. What the hell's going on?
Ding dong. Brother Nero.
Drone smacking noises. Ha. Ha.
Brother Nero, I see you've met my fleet of aerial assault robots. You're now speaking to Vanguard 1. Tonight, I command you to meet me at the property line. Tonight is our final battle. It will determine who holds the right of the Hardee name, who controls the Hardee brand, who is the sole proprietor of the Hardee Empire. And end scene.
Really, it's quite a minute. I know we condensed it a little bit for the reading, but there was a lot of empty space in that minute. But still, so much happening. Yeah,
there's quite a bit happening. In fact, I feel like our reading for this one is going to require a little bit of a little bit more context, because the entire time that your character, Brother Nero, or I assume one of the Hardee brothers, is sitting on the couch, a fleet of drones, otherwise known as the aerial assault robots, they fly in and they're surrounding him at some given point in time. And when you're during the slow-mo drone smacking sequence, so to speak, your character, Nero Gage's Hardee, he is smacking robots with the guitar he was playing on earlier in the scene.
Which is kind of amazing. Maybe we can quickly explain why these are the names that we came up with. Brother Nero Gage's Hardee is referred to as Brother Nero by the sort of evil robot man. And we
Yes.
added the middle name Gauges because he has fairly large gauges in his ears, in addition to some tattoos, some amazing facial hair. He looks like quite a guy.
Now, I don't want to do this on air, Paul. I feel guilty about this, but I do need to correct you. He's not a robot man.
Okay.
Space Hardee is in fact a projection, a holographic projection of, I assume, someone from another area, or possibly the future. I mean, it is hologram. Like, this is very much like a Leia, Princess Leia coming and like threatening Luke that she's gonna come and beat him
Challenge
up.
him to a showdown at the property line, which we'll get to. Let's take it through step by step. The first thing that I saw is that as Brother Nero's sitting in his living room, I noticed he owns a lakefront house. That's pretty nice. It looks like a nice house. Whatever he's doing in this movie or TV show or WrestleMania clip, hard to say, he seems to be doing pretty well.
I mean, they are arguing over the rights to the Hardee name and who owns the Hardee brand and proprietor of the Hardee Empire. What's the name of, that guy who does like all the sort of like tiki, like Sailor Joe, like like tattoo stuff that's on like T-shirts and leather jackets?
Ooh, is that Ed Hardee?
Ed Hardee. Do you think this is the inheritors of the Hardee Empire?
I was going to say, I'm assuming that Ed Hardee is long dead in whatever future we're living in. So maybe these are his sons fighting over the estate. It's impossible to say, but we'll pretend that we know.
It's sad to see that the Hardee Empire has come to this point where, the heirs to the great fashion label must battle over, flaming tiger jackets.
Maybe that's what it is. Well, let's get through it a little bit. So, just to explain the script a little, because it's a little difficult to follow for someone who has not seen this excellent minute of footage.
Yes,
it starts off with Brother Nero sitting on his couch when he is disturbed to see a drone outside of his door, or rather outside of his back door. So he gets up and he looks to see, and then suddenly the same drone rings his front doorbell. Did you notice that?
No, I did not notice. Now that I'm thinking about it, the absurdity of a drone ringing a doorbell and then opening the door. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
so not only is it the same drone that was in the backyard is simultaneously, as he's looking at it, ringing the front doorbell, but the drone's ringing a front doorbell. I mean, that's amazing. That's great technology.
That is great technology. That's actually
leads me to think it's the future.
I don't know why I'm more amazed by that than like the idea that one of the brothers was able to project their visage into the living room. But the drone doorbell ringing is kind of terrifying. I'm also now thinking about like Amazon dropping off your packages, but they'll only drop it off if you like answer the doorbell for the drone.
Well, that's actually what I was thinking. Is this is probably taking place about 10 years in the future, because he's not surprised to see the drone in his backyard. I mean, he's surprised, but not that surprised. When he opens the front door though and sees the same drone, he's not surprised at all. No. So maybe he's living in a future where everything's delivered by drone. To me, that sounds like it's 10 years in the future, and I don't know. I welcome our new Amazonian overlords.
That makes absolute sense. I mean, there's holograms, which I assume, once it trickles down from like, Tupac to us, yep. That technology will be readily available. I'm also kind of wondering if this is like the 2030s equivalent of like an email invite. Like, is this like an Evite, like telegram, like drone telegram?
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, is this like a universal service that Amazon is now requiring us to use to invite us into any sort of event? And that's really the sort of like post-apocalyptic world that we're envisioning, is just that we have to use drones to communicate.
Well, I mean, it does provide the opportunity for a lot of showmanship, as we saw. But before we get into that, did you notice that when he opens the door, the drone is hovering above a riding mower right outside of his front door?
No. Do you think the drone rode them over there?
I don't think so. But what I think it means is that this guy probably just takes his riding mower everywhere. Like, I don't think he has a driver's license. Maybe he's had too many DUIs, and instead he's like that college girl with her pink Barbie mobile. Instead, it's him with his riding mower.
He's that guy in the neighborhood, the one that drives the lawnmower down to the McDonald's.
Well, I think he might be. Yeah,
and that's
it's an Arby's. Let's be real.
Yeah, and he does that, twice a day for every meal. Then again, he looks pretty ripped. I mean,
he does. He has quite the appearance. I would not like to see him at the property line.
No.
Or maybe I would. Who's to say? But before we get to the property line, I think I noticed a pretty big plot hole in the footage here, John.
Okay.
When Brother Nero's distracted at his front door, I'm pretty sure 6 drones came in through his back door. Did you count by chance?
I did not count. I thought it was maybe 4 drones, but
I'm pretty sure it was 6.
I could be wrong.
Okay, so let's say it was 6, right?
Okay.
There's 2 plot holes here. First, his back door was not open before.
No.
So it was closed.
The drones
although,
opened it.
To be fair, if they can ring a doorbell, maybe they can open a back door. I don't know.
I mean, is it one of those, like, back doors that are just, like, basically a tiny little, like, thumb thing that you just, like, rest your thumb on and then the back door just swings open?
It could be.
Yeah, those don't seem safe.
No, they really don't.
They're not drone safe, at least.
But plot hole number 2, following up on that, is in the following scene, he's smashing drones with a guitar, which is pretty cool. But I'm pretty sure he smashes 7 drones.
He smashes 7 drones? Wow, I didn't even think about counting that much.
John, you have to count your drones. I mean, that's like basic stuff.
I was thinking more like, I don't know why, but I thought this entire scene only involved 4 drones. I guess it's movie magic. They thought they made me think there were less drones than there actually were in the scene.
It's hard to say. It was a slow-mo mashup of drone smashing, but what did you think about the effects of the drone smashery?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it definitely looked like a guitar, an acoustic hollow body guitar, I believe, right?
True.
Smashing into several drones that I assume his brother picked up at the local Radio Shack.
They did kind of look like Radio Shack drones, yeah.
They
I don't think they have any kind of projection system that could show a Tupac concert.
No, at least not the ones at my Radio Shack.
Certainly not.
No. Although they do look expensive as hell. Like, these drones are easily like $120 a pop, right? So that's like,
they'd have to be.
I mean, times 7 plus Tupac technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a Samsung Galaxy taped to the top of it.
Well, we've gotten to the core of this is that these brothers are incredibly wealthy and have more than enough money to share between them. I'm not really sure that this is, we really need to argue. Like, why do we need to meet up and, at the property line where
that's not clear. But again, before we get to the property line, just to speak to the opulence of this house, did you notice the amount of pop art that Brother Nero had in his living room?
I did notice the art. The art is ridiculous. It makes me feel like this is obviously like a prop house because all of the art felt very sort of unoffensive generic art that you'd use to maybe sell a house. Do you think that do you think Brother Gage's Nero Gage's Hardee is he not a grifter? What is it? Do you think he's like squatting at this sale property?
He might be squatting. What it seemed like to me a little more was that he was buying this art from like discount Starbuckses.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like really off-brand pop art, which, to me it's like good for him. He's supporting local artists, but on the other hand, he's a Hardee. He can afford, slightly better pop. Or maybe he drew it himself. I really don't know.
Oh, that's true. I do like the idea that one brother is like the techno mage and the other one is like the heartfelt artist just sitting in his living room strumming on the guitar, creating like soulless pop art.
Maybe that's what it is.
Not that all pop art is soulless. I don't want any letters.
I do want some letters. You can send them to the minutepodcast@gmail.com or you can email them to somebody else. It doesn't matter who. The thing that we should really talk about though, John, is the fact that he is challenged to some sort of showdown with, I guess, his brother. They're both Hardees. They could be cousins, but at the property line.
They both look like they have very thick necks, so
True.
They're obviously like genetically linked there in some way. And their hair is also both styled in like sort of greasy, girthy neck length.
Don't say girthy, but yes. I mean, that's definitely true. So I see three possible scenarios here.
Okay.
The first is that they're actually the same guy, and he's staging some sort of wrestling training exercise for himself where he has to defend himself against these robot attackers.
So you're proposing like... Are you proposing like the Parent Trap of wrestling, where like he's gonna like wrestle a CG stand-in and then like wrestle a CG stand-in of himself?
I mean, we could only be so lucky.
I mean, then I want to see more of this. I mean, we'll get into that later, but like that would sell me on it, like some sort of Olsen twins shenanigans or something.
I mean, yeah, I'd watch that, but that's only option one of three.
Okay.
The second thing that I think is this could actually be a sitcom starring two wealthy neighbors who are also brothers, who have some sort of property dispute. You know, one of them's the artist, like you said. One of them's the, I don't know, did you say techno mage who's controlling these drones?
Yeah. So like one is like the Tim the Toolman Taylor, and the other one's the heartfelt and feeling Wilson, right?
I mean, that's not inaccurate. Yeah, that could be what's happening.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's some sort of cosmic showdown between your classic protagonist and antagonist. The protagonist being called to duty away from his artistic endeavors to really, I'm guessing, open a can of whoop-ass, just looking at him.
It's true. He does seem capable of opening a can of whoop-ass in ways that we could only dream, Paul.
Oh, I can dream. It's certainly true. Yeah. So, John, which of the three do you think is most likely?
I feel like I like the Parent Trap situation more, like where he's like challenging himself, but as another character, like he hasn't figured out his wrestling persona, if this is wrestling.
Ooh, yeah.
But he hasn't figured out his wrestling persona yet, so he doesn't know if he's like a hero or a heel. So he's just like playing both. He's like, fuck it, you know, I've got range. I'm the, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor Thomas of the wrestling world.
John, that is a sentence that no one's ever said before. I mean, that was beautiful.
I was trying to think of someone who had range.
And you went straight to Jonathan Taylor. You know what? That's okay.
No,
that's good.
Yeah. Sorry, the Tool time is still strong in my mind.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I remember my childhood. So the question then for me really comes back to, can we recommend whatever the hell this was to our listener at home? So
I personally would love to know where the hell this goes. Because I think what we haven't been able to necessarily express is just how quickly, I mean, this is all taking place in a minute. This all is without any context. Like, we start the YouTube video at the 2-minute and 38-second mark, right? And we watch it till the 2-minute and 48-second mark. Or wait, is it 2-minute 38? Yeah. And we just get, you know, our eyeballs get like, you know, this full of weird pop art, robot smashing holograms, and words that I barely even can conceive of just pouring out of these two girthy guys. Sorry, Paul, I didn't mean to
Hashtag two girthy guys. Continue.
Two girthy guys, yeah. Oh God, we got to get that URL if that's not already taken.
No.
Yeah, that's our other podcast. Two girthy guys.
It's really not. Continue.
No. Okay. Paul, it's gold. Anyway, so yeah, and I also feel like, you know, from the YouTube watching experience, we can say that like all around it seems to be wrestling memorabilia stuff. And
true.
There seems to be a resurgence in wrestling in like the media and stuff. I mean, right now this week, like Fire Pro Wrestling was released or something. It's like a crazy Japanese wrestling game that everyone's talking about. I've heard a lot about, like, I don't know, is WWE still a thing? I don't know. I hear about wrestling all the time for some reason now. And I feel like it's more than even when I was a kid, when wrestling was like the window of opportunity for me getting into wrestling was pretty much at its peak.
No, that's certainly true. And I don't know if I can recommend it or not, John. I mean, I respect your opinion here,
No,
but
it's fine.
To me, the real question is, which of the scenarios is this? If it's a sitcom between two lakefront property owners with a property dispute, they just happen to be brothers, I'd watch that. I mean, if it continues to involve this level of like guitar smashery, that's pretty cool.
I didn't think about the fact that like maybe the guitar is like a signature.
It might be. Could be his signature move. We don't know anything about
Is he like
these people.
a lone man with a gun, only instead of a gun, it's just like several hollow body guitars that he smashes over people's heads or something?
It's possible. The only way to find out is for the listener at home to get in touch with us, because we don't do follow-ups as far as I know.
No, well, so far we haven't. 100% no follow-ups. I mean, Young Pope
Minute had no
never gonna watch that
follow-up.
show unless like, Clockwork Orange scenario happens.
Which is always a possibility. Any last minute items then, John? It seems like we've done this minute justice, and it did us justice as well. I had a great time.
I would like to just propose another like fourth scenario. Is this the fourth scenario?
Yes, please do.
Maybe they're Hardee versus Hardee. Maybe they each own like a Hardee's brand restaurant in the area.
Oh my God, maybe.
Why did I not think of this earlier? Because
Wow.
I feel like if it's two like Hardee's owners and maybe the guitar guy's like the up and comer, like the new guy in town, and the older guy, the other guy is like, hey, you don't know how things are done here. You got to come see me about shitty burgers. I actually have no idea what's at a Hardee's. I pretty much know.
think it's mostly shitty roast beef sandwiches. But
I know as
similar.
much about Hardee's as I do about Hardee versus Hardee. And this is the Hardee Minute. The Hardee's Minute. I know that
Hardee, not brought to you by Hardee's.
No.
Clearly,
no,
never.
no. I feel like
Okay.
I feel like we'd be brought to you by Arby's before Hardee's.
I don't even want to go down that road either. But John, I love your fourth scenario. I really hope that's what it is, and maybe someone can let us know, because I'd like to watch the rest of it, but I probably won't.
No, I probably won't either, just because I got Glow to watch. I'm definitely watching Glow. Oh, that's the other wrestling thing. Glow, that's fantastic. Go watch Glow.
I'll have to look into Glow, and listener at home, you also should
Yeah, it's good.
watch Glow. All right. Well, thanks, John. I'd like to say a few things. First, that the listener at home can reach us at theminutepodcast@gmail.com or follow us on the way home from work. This episode was hosted by Paul Reberg and John Ward, produced by John Ward, with theme music by Paul Reberg, and a big thank you to Davida for being our first supplier of an audience-recommended minute, and what a minute it was.
Yes, it was a good choice with Davida. Thank you very much.
Absolutely was. And we will be back next week for another minute, but we don't know what it is yet, so you have to tune in to find out.
Yep. See you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Holy crap, you made it to the end. We'll be back next week to do it all again. Until then, be well and be sure